Hi, in our previous video, we looked at getting started with Canva and how to get started with an infographic. We looked at getting a sample infographic up and then clicking on each of the items, whether they be text, as in this case, and thereby accessing the tools that are available for that element, or whether it be a graphic, such as this little thing over here. And you can see that this has some more limited options, such as just changing the basic color, etc. Now, some objects such as this, you're going to notice are a combination. So this is a graphical element with a text box laid over it, and you may have to make edits individually to those to change them. Now let's look at how we can change more of the design overall. Now, we did start from a template, but we don't need to. We could have developed this from scratch, although sometimes it's easier to start with that template and modify it. That's up to you. Okay, first thing is if you're looking for images, you can go to the search area and you have got all photos and illustrations. So if I wanted an illustration, I could do that. And since maybe I want to replace this one, this hat, so I'm going to search for something like cooking or to cook. And when I hit enter, you're going to see that there are a series of illustrations that come up. Now, some of them are marked as pro, and that's if you do use like a monthly subscription. Some of them are free, and in this case you can see that for cooking there's only one free item in this particular group. And then you can see that others are available to you for the cost of $1. So if I were to use this one, I would simply have to remove the watermark, I would simply have to purchase it for $1. Okay, same would be true for photos. There are a couple more free photos here, but most of these photos, actually quite a few free ones, but others are going to be either in the pro category or costing $1. And clicking all will simply get me a combination of those two things. It's not going to distinguish. Okay, we have some layouts here, and again, this is where we got started. So as far as setting the basic setup of the page, you could construct this all yourself. As I've said before, you don't have to use a layout, but they're available to you here, and you can change them at any time. You can see that most of these layouts, if not all of them, are free. I don't think I've noticed one that's a paid layout. Okay, let's come to elements. There's a lot of things to do in here. Okay, categories for elements: free photos, grids, frames, shapes, lines, illustrations, icons, charts, and this I love Canva. Okay, first, if you come to free photos, simply going to show you photos that you can use. And again, you can come to these elements and use the search feature. You know, some of these things would appear in both places. Okay, there's also grids. Now, grids are things that can just help you with layout. So if I drag this out here, you can see that it's just showing me I have 4 boxes, and I'd obviously want to replace. I'd want to replace or cover over these things, but it just helps you with the basic layout if you don't want to do that yourself. I don't find grids, I don't use that a lot. I don't find it overly useful. There's also something called frames. And frames are simply very, very similar to grids, but they don't cover the entire document. So this is something that I could use if I wanted to cover over some of these pieces, but as only part of my graphic instead of the entire graphic. Okay, shapes, extremely useful. So I can just drag a shape out here, bring it down in size. You can see that this one is simply an outline with rounded edges and a transparent center. And I can change basic colors here. Not too much I can do to that. If I wanted a shape that was different than this, I'd basically want to look for that shape itself. So here's a block. So I'm going to pull a block out here. I'm going to resize it to what I want. Let's start with that. I'm going to change the background color. And then I can arrange it. I can send it further and further back so you can see the items that are behind it start to come forward. And now, because back is no longer available, I'm back as far as I can go. And so there you go. So you can use a block, change the colors, etc. It doesn't have to be a block. Over here you can see that you've got nice circles, a circle up here, triangles, stars, kind of these other freeform shapes, hearts. So these are ways that you can build the basic graphics on your page by using shapes. That's one of the more powerful features, I think. You also have these nice lines. So again, lots and lots and lots of free line designs. So I could drag this one out. Maybe try to use it as a border between areas. I can change its color. Now, with any of these colors, I mean, I've been using these default palettes that are out here. You can always use the plus sign, and now you can do this in one of two ways. You can either drag this thing around and try to build the color that you want, and that's okay, but it can be a little difficult. The other thing that you can do is you've got a color code down here, and this is in something called hexadecimal, meaning that it's not a base 10 system, 0 through 9. It's instead of being based on 10, it's based on 16, and that's why you notice these letters in here. So you go from 0 to 9, but then you start with A, B, C, etc. Okay, now that's great, but how do I know what's the hexadecimal of what I would like to use? Well, one way to do that is simply to go out and search for color palettes. And you're going to come up with a whole bunch of websites. I'm going to just choose the first one, but it's worth poking around a little. And basically these sites will give you color combinations that work together. So you can look, this is all done in, I guess, yellows and golds, reds, and then some of them go across a broader range of colors. It's just based on different philosophies or techniques for matching colors. Now, most of these sites are going to have a way to search so that you can, maybe search for certain colors as a base color, and then it will show you, palettes that work with that color, etc. Once you find these, what you want to do is you want to click on the palette and look. There's your hexadecimal number right there. So you can copy those. And bring them back. Let me just start with this particular color. Notice it over here. I'm going to copy that, and I'm just going to paste it in there, and that's going to find me that color on the wheel, and then there it is. Okay, so as I said, there's a myriad of different sites that do this. They work in different ways, so you just want to find something that you're comfortable with and that you like, or you can build your own palettes. If you've got a really good eye, or there's something you enjoy and take your time, doing it. But if you don't, if it's not your forte or not something you want to invest the time in, go out and do a quick search for color palettes and find something that you like. Okay, other things that you can do here. There's illustrations. These can be very, very nice because of the nature of an infographic. Sometimes a photograph isn't quite as effective. Sometimes something that's a little more icon-like. So again, there are free ones here, and there are also paid ones. There are actual icons, and like everything else, they are resizable, and the colors can be edited. So I'll just change that a little bit there. There is on most of these tools, there is not a save button or an implement button. So basically, you just have to remember to use your undo if you want to go back and put things in an earlier state. There you go. So I'm back to the original color. Okay, they have this nice feature called charts. This can be really effective on an infographic. Charts. There you go. So let me find an interesting one. There you go. We'll just drag that out there. Now you'll notice that it's kind of a default or generic, but if you double click on it, now you can change the labels. Now you can change the labels here. So instead of saying item 1, this is a chart about fruit. So apples, and they are popular among 23% of people. Oranges, popular among 17% of people, etc. So I can fill out this chart, and when I finish, you can see apples is now 33, and the chart is changed, oranges, etc. Okay, you can change on this, various features, font size, font, you can get your data back here, various, just play around with that, and there are various different modifications you can make to customize it, make it your own. So if I come back to elements, after charts is this I love Canva section, which I believe just has some basic, if you want to mark this as something you've done with Canva, bring it out there and put the little logo on there. Okay, next feature is text. You can start text simply by putting in a heading or a subheading, which is smaller, or body text, which is smaller still. And once you've got it there, let me click off here a second. Click it and drag it up here. Once you select it on it, of course, you can pick your font, your size, your colors, your alignment, all the things we've looked at before. The other option here for text is to find something nicely formatted that somebody's already done and drag that out there. And then you can make those same adjustments. You can just select this center part and say, I'd like that to be a different color, or a different size, or a different font, or whatever. So with text, there's a lot of free ones in here, a lot of nice designs, and it saves you the trouble of having to do that yourself. Okay, you have backgrounds here. So if I pick a background, it becomes the background of my object. Remember, I can put shapes over the top to modify that. Like here's a shape that's covering over part of that. But lots and lots of free backgrounds for you here. And then some backgrounds that are not free, that are paid. Uploads. So this makes it very, very powerful. You can upload your own images. So here's, you just click, you browse to, and you pick the image and you upload it. Here's one I've uploaded previously. So you can find things, especially Creative Commons, open source, copyright-free images on the internet, download them to your computer, pull them up, and help you to create your infographic. I would suggest that you just start using the tool, come up with a good idea for an infographic, and start playing around with the different options. That's gonna make you better. Get some strategies, learn how to use the tool to make something nice for your students.